Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the press. You are here again to discuss on the national issues related to politics and the economy. First and foremost, let me start with the Supreme Court judgment, which was delivered by the lordships, the 7 justices of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. That is the First Court of Nigeria. I want to commend the courage and the professional foresight of the learned jurists on how to upheld the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And the decision of the Supreme Court today has clearly demonstrated that nobody is above the law of the land. The Supreme Court has granted an interim order restraining the federal government, Attorney General of the Federation, and the President from taking any further step on the new Naira design policy. But the Attorney General of the Federation and the President and the Governor of Central Bank and other deposit money banks ignored the interim order granted by the Supreme Court of Nigeria. And Mr. President went ahead to demonstrate an impunity against the Constitution of Nigeria. But go ahead to address Nigerians on the national broadcast that the 200 Naira note should be reissued and recirculated in the economy as a legal tender. And went ahead to announce that 500 Naira, 1,000 Naira remains the old 1,000 Naira and 500 Naira 6-2 serve as legal tender. But with today, judgment of the Supreme Court, which the 3 governors initiated, His Excellency Bello Matola Maradun, and His Excellency Malan Nasir El-Rufai, and His Excellency Governor Yahya Bello, and the 7 others who were also joined as a plaintiff in the suit, have secured a judgment against the federal government. And from the announcement of the court delivered a judgment today, 3rd March 2023. And in its judgment, the court categorically stated that the 500 Naira note, 1,000 Naira denomination old notes remains a legal tender in Nigeria. Both the new Naira designed and the old Naira should concurrently coexist from today to December 31st, 2023. I urge Mr. President, who is the Commander-in-Chief of Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who is supposed to be also a custodian of law and order in Nigeria, and the Attorney General of the Federation, and the Governor of Central Bank, and other deposit money banks to respect the rule of law, to abide by the decision of the Supreme Court, which is the apex court of the land. So the Supreme Court has spoken, and every Nigeria must also accept that decision of the Supreme Court. Any attempt not to obey the decision of the Supreme Court is an impunity It's a recklessness, it's a disloyalty to the nation. And anybody who does not respect the decision of this Supreme Court, he doesn't wish Nigeria well, and is calling for anarchy and chaos in the country. This new Naira scarcity have put a lot of Nigerians in starvation, hunger, disease, poverty, which it has highly have been a serious disastrous to the standard of living of average Nigerian. So I want to use this medium to commend the Justice of the Supreme Court for upholding the rule of law in Nigeria. Because in the decision of the Supreme Court, they have clearly announced that the Central Bank 2007 Act was violated by the Governor of Central Bank. And also, in the pronouncement of the Supreme Court, they have clearly lambasted the federal government for not obeying the order of the Central Bank, which granted an interim order before the final determination of the case. So I call on all Nigerians to respect the decision of the Supreme Court. I call all businessmen and women to accept the old Naira not as a legal tender in the day-to-day business transactions in their businesses. Then on the issue of politics, election, presidential election, senatorial election, and the House of Rep election has come and gone. Many states, the result of election was collated, announced, and declared. It is very unfortunate where a sitting governor, who happens to be a lawyer, who happens to be a beneficiary of judicial struggle, the governor of Edo State, governor of Bayelsa State, governor of Delta State, governor of Adamawa State, governor of Sokoto State, Atinsi State, went to court calling for cancellation of presidential election. They have clearly shown that ignorance of Nigerian Constitution or Electoral Act 2022 as amended. Nigerian Constitution and the Electoral Act 2022 has clearly mentioned, provided the way and the manner you will seek redress after the declaration of the result. I wonder why Governor of Sokoto State, who happens to be a Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives, lawmaker, who took part in the enactment of 2010 Electoral Act, and who has been a lawyer, a sitting governor for good 8 years, will now, because of the desperation, try to ignore the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022 as amended and the provision of the Constitution. They don't have any jurisdiction to challenge the outcome of the presidential election. Governor Aminu Waziri Tambol and other governors are not candidate of PDP, neither candidate of Labour Party or APC or NNPP or any other political party. So they have no any locus to approach Supreme Court seeking for cancellation of the just concluded presidential election, which was already collated, announced, and declared, and the Chibola Ahmed Tinubu has been returned with lawful, majority lawful board as the president-elect of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. if somebody will now tell me, even in my dreams, that Governor Aminu Waziri I knew, who happens to be a lawyer, will approach a court, Supreme Court, calling for cancellation of presidential election, I will never believe it. If somebody who is ignorant of the law of the land will behave that way. But they have now turned themselves as a laughing stock. And they are now trying to show Nigerians that they don't know the content and the letters of Nigerian Constitution or Electoral 2022 as amended. I call on Aminu Waziri and the other governors to respect the rule of law and to respect the relevant electoral laws. Atiku Abubakar, under the Act and under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is the only person who can approach a court, constituted election petition tribunal to seek redress, or his political party. But under this act, unless and until if the Constitution of Nigeria is amended. But somebody who doesn't have a locus will now just come as enforcer or an interloper to come and go to court just for undue political recognition. It's a waste of time, waste of government treasury, and also diversionary. So it has no any meaningful effort. If at all, Peter Obi and Labour Party that sponsored him constitutionally can go to court and challenge the outcome of election. Aminu Waziri is just Director General of the campaign organization of Atiku Abubakar. Atiku Abubakar, under the law, and the PDP can approach election petition tribunal constituted by the President of Court of Appeal and file his petition at the appropriate election petition tribunal. Or Rabi Musa Konkosu, or other presidential candidates, other political parties. But the six governors now has turned themselves to a laughing stock. It's only in Nigeria you see a governor who's supposed to lead by example. Somebody who is learned will now, because of selfish interests, will now turn down the provision or letters of our laws. The reasons they started, the grounds of their petition is immaterial. Going by Section 136 to 140 of the Electoral Act 2022 as amended, then Aminu Waziri Tambol and his co-travelers has no power under the law to approach Supreme Court calling for cancellation of the presidential election. Under our laws, the Supreme Court has no jurisdiction to entertain election matters directly unless and until some judicial process are followed. Presidential election, the presidential candidate will approach court or appeal and file his petition within 21 days of the declaration of the result. If he is not satisfied with the judgment of the Court of Appeal, he will now approach Supreme Court for another legal determination of his suit he filed for the election. But I wonder, somebody who has happened to be a lawyer, because of selfish interests and desperation, tried to play with the intelligence of the common Nigerians. Who is pulling who? Are they pulling Nigerians? Or are they pulling Atiku Abubakar? Or are they pulling Labour Party? Or are they pulling Konkoso, Peter Obi, and the rest? Let these leaders allow this country to move forward. They should stop bringing us backward. Youth are growing. They are learning from them. Will you now teach your son to go and be fighting legitimacy? Something which is legal. You now make him to go and be fighting something which is illegal. You have something legal. You want him to go and be fighting something legal instead of fighting illegal. Do you want your son to go and be fighting something illegitimate instead of illegitimate? This is uncalled for. The leaders should lead by example. That is my position on that issue. So on the issue of the governorship election, I call on all the candidates in the next 11 March governorship election should not behave the way and the manner some of the coalition agents we saw on the telly, how they behave, or their candidates. I call on all the governors to make sure that this election, they should give a room where the election should be conducted under free and fair environment and also violence-free environment. Because this suit filed by these governors, they are trying to truncate the next process of the election. Because there is election in Adamawa, there is going to be a governorship election in Adamawa, in Delta State, and also in Sokoto State. But going by this way they are going, approaching Supreme Court to cancel election, it means it has some political undertone. Because they are trying to overheat the polity in their state of jurisdictions. That is the agenda. Because calling for cancellation as a sitting governor, under which constitution, under which laws, that's it. So I call on all the law-abiding citizens of this country to remain calm and also to be security conscious against the conduct of 11 March gubernatorial and State House Assembly election.
Ga mai biredi TV, mai biredi TV, ga mai biredi TV, faɗakar ruwa nishaɗi, sai mai biredi TV.
Gagara gasa online TV, mai biredi TV, gidan TV mai faɗakarwa, tare da nishaɗantarwa.